This section is called the history of the internet. Some people might be wondering in a strategy course why you would even bother learning about the history of the internet. But there are a couple good reasons, and part of it is that until you actually understand the way the internet works and where the web come from and the underlying structure of the web, you can't actually begin to plan out your social strategy because you don't understand how things spread and how things work on the web. So in this beginning section, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of computing and how the web got to be built the way it was built. So this all begins with DARPA, which is the first organization in the US government to start thinking about the internet. And when Sputnik came around in 1957, this was a really scary thing, a real wake-up call to the US government and to the US citizens generally. Even though it was in outer space, it showed that the Russians had a serious advantage in computing and in communication. And it showed that they could attack us at any time in any place. So we went into motion. One thing to know, though, is computers were huge. They were like the size of a room. And so the sophistication of computers wasn't quite there yet. And it's amazing to think back to realize what people were able to construct to get us to the web and the way that they were able to think about in quite revolutionary ways the underlying structure of the web. So a couple of revolutionary ideas actually had to happen with computing. At first, computers were just thought of as giant calculators where you put in a couple of numbers that were really complicated and then you'd get a calculation back. So computers had to actually be thought of as things that could solve problems. And initially, computers could only do one task at a time. And people realized that computers could be programmed to do more than one task at a time. This is called batch sharing. And you can think of batch sharing as when you have your Word open and you have your browser open. That's doing two things at a time. But the most important thing to realize is that when the US government, because the US government is really who's behind the creation of the web, when the US government thought about how the web would be structured, they realized that they couldn't have a central communication point. Because if it all began with one place, or it went directly to one place and not another, if something got bombed, then there would be no way for communication to transfer. So if you look at the hub, you'll see that there is just one spoke to another spoke. And there's no way for that communication to transfer if one part of the hub gets knocked down. So you can think about this like an airline, where if you're in bad weather in North Carolina, all of the other flights going out of North Carolina get shut down. And that was exactly how what we wanted to avoid with the way that messages were going to be constructed on the web. So flash forward to today, and this is a picture of networks on the web. And what you can see here is that there are multiple, what we call multiple redundant networks. So each part of the web connects to other parts of the web in many different ways. So you can start from a topic like dogs and get to a topic like cats in multitudes of ways. Sites are connected to other sites in unpredictable ways through many different pathways, and every site is connected to every other site through a set of links. If something breaks down, there's still another set of links to get you to a different site. So this means that the web is fundamentally flexible. So it also means the web is fundamentally spreadable. So you start from one point and it can go everywhere. And this is a fundamental concept of the web, that you have the potential to start from nothing and then go everywhere. So this is a little bit about how the web has actually revolutionized communication. And in the next section, I'll be telling you a little bit about the history of social media.